Championship is officially here. It's week 17. We've already had a few games already played. It's Saturday. We have a few games also coming up today. And the thing is, I'm going to be sharing some starts of the week that are going to help you out. Instead of it being more the obvious players that you may go with every single week, I'm going to give you some guys because we've had some injuries. And if you're playing super flex, if you're playing redraft, whatever your format is, these players should be options that you typically are deciding in between. And the first one is going to be Courtland Sutton. I know he's coming off a few back-to-back games where he hasn't necessarily been as strong as he's usually been. However, on the season, he's still wide receiver 16. He has had a great year. He's probably had his best season since 2019 when he broke out his second season into the league. He's now also had 8+ targets and 10 games this year. And when you look at the wide receiver rankings that he's had thus far, he's been really solid. He's 12th among all wide receivers in targets. He's 9th in red zone targets. He's 7th in deep targets and also 2nd in air yards. And he's also having to face the Cincinnati Bengals, who actually are a bottom 10 defense when it comes to receiving yards allowed to opposing wideouts. And I believe that with the matchup and with how good he's been, he should be a great start for you in week 17 for championship week. This next wide receiver is going to be Joshua Downs out of the Indianapolis Colts. This guy's been one of my favorite players. He's now having a second year breakout here with the Colts, and he's been actually really solid in 9 games this year out of 12. He's actually had double-digit production in PPR formats, and he's averaged 13.4 points per game thus far in those games that he's played. And when you analyze it too, that is actually above players such as Tyreek Hill, who's averaged 13, DK Metcalf, who's averaged 12.6, Jaden Reed, who's averaged 12.7, and George Pickens, who's averaged 12.6. All of these guys are ideal wide receiver ones. Joshua Downs has outproduced them on a points per game basis. And when you look at his other rankings too among wide receivers, he's 4th in target rate. And what's been awesome is that he's currently 30.2% in this actual statistic. Last season, he saw a 20.2% target rate. So he's not only getting more usage, but he's also producing in that usage as well. He's also 3rd among all wide receivers in a route win rate. And with the question marks on Anthony Richardson's availability, despite him being good with him there, you actually see an uptick of him doing really well when he is out. When you look at this screenshot from RotoViz, he's averaged 15.4 points per game with Anthony Richardson out compared to 12.6 when he is in there. The receptions go up from 3.86 to 7.25, and the targets go up from 6.5 to 10 targets. And then he also increases his yardage from 52.5 to 66.75. And not only that, the matchup versus the New York Giants, it's really juicy. They've actually averaged 146.7 receiving yards to opposing wide receivers in the last 3 games. We have 2 more players to review, but before we go any further, do me a solid. If you're getting value in this video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let's go over these last 2 players. This next player is going to also be Calvin Ridley from the Tennessee Titans. Now, he's been solid. He's been a solid wide receiver too this entire season. He's now coming off back-to-back seasons with 100+ targets. And when you look at the rankings among wide receivers, he's 1st in air yards, he's 1st in deep targets, and also 8th in explosive plays. And what's been really the huge turning point for Calvin Ridley this season was the DeAndre Hopkins trade. When you analyze and look at this screenshot from RotoViz, you can see the games with him in there with DeAndre Hopkins compared to him out. He saw his points go from 7.53 to 14.35. You saw the receptions go from 2 to 5.12. You saw the targets also go up from 6 to 8.75, and it gets so much better too because he's playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are a bottom team to points allowed to opposing wide receivers. And actually, you can see here too, the last game that he played versus Jacksonville, he had 7 receptions on 12 targets for 59 yards. I expect that to be a very similar output that he'll get this week, especially considering that it's week 17 and a crucial week for us fantasy managers as well. And with the latest breaking news that we just got this morning with Chuba Hubbard being out, you may need to pivot and look for other running back options, and one of them is going to be Tyjae Spears. He's now coming off 2 20+ PPR performances, and it's actually been really accredited to the fact that Tony Pollard has not been healthy, and he's still questionable to play. However, even if he was to play, you see that Spears' upside really comes from his strong ability to be a receiver in this offense. And in week 15, we saw this actually come to fruition. He had 6 receptions on 7 targets for 87 yards and also had 1 touchdown. In week 16 last week, he saw 3 receptions receptions on 4 targets, had 39 yards, but also got most of his value because of the 2 rushing touchdowns that he had. And he's also 6th among all running backs in receiving explosive play rating. And also lastly, he's going to be facing the Jacksonville Jaguars, who actually allow the 2nd most points to opposing running backs. Now, if you are in a pickle, because we saw that Jalen Hurts is out, we saw also that Chuba Hubbard is out, and ironically enough, those are 2 guys in one of my championship rosters. What I'm actually pivoting doing now is, if you're in a super flex like I am, I'm actually looking to now utilize one of my receivers or one of my running backs. And in this case, the best advice I can give you is look for high upside. So for example, I would consider guys in a super flex role such as Darnell Mooney. I would consider guys like I even mentioned Josh Downs, and maybe even one of these position players I mentioned as well, considering that they may be good options for you in these roles as well. Hey, thank you so much for watching. Do me a solid, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and if you want some more tips to help you out for championship week, check out some of these other videos that I have here on the channel. Until next time, best of luck to you in week 17. Take care, God bless, peace.